Hello guys, good evening and welcome back to this brand new Doctor Who review. The last time we did the review on Terror of the Autons. If you haven't checked out that review, then certainly go and check it out right now. But today, I'm going to be reviewing one story which I haven't seen for such a long time. It's been nearly 2 years since I've last watched this story, until today. And wow, I forgot how good this story was. My first reactions to this story wasn't really good. I wasn't interested in much. I probably wasn't concentrating much on the story really. But my gosh, how I missed this story. Over a 2-year absence without this story. My gosh, how much could I forgot about this story? So brilliant, this story. And it's just really brilliantly written by the same writer who wrote Inferno. Yes, today I'm going to be reviewing Don Houghton's second story, The Mind of Evil. The Mind of Evil is certainly a great story, and from my honest reactions after that watch, or from that 2-year absence since I last watched that story, my only reactions from that was that I completely didn't enjoy it, I didn't find it engaging first, but now, my gosh, how times have changed and how have I missed this story. I think this was one story which many people think it's underrated. I certainly think it's underrated, and it's one of the most darkest stories from the John Perry era. I think it's one of those Earthbound stories which they don't seem quite dark, but this seems really, really dark in my opinion. But definitely, I think this story definitely has some brilliant aspects. The peace conference, the missile, and the Keller machine, they all connect into one subplot, and the plotline is so well developed, and especially the characters certainly have some brilliant performances within this story. I think you have to be a lover or hater of this story, because there are some bits where many people don't like and some people love it. I'm on the loving side, to be honest, because unfortunately, there were some bits which I did see which they could do a bit better at. There were some scenes where the backdrop was a bit fake. There was certainly lots of padding within episode 5, so I felt that episode 5 was more like the drag of the entire story. But nevertheless, the story is immensely powerful within the writing and the direction. It's really such an underrated story, and I really enjoy this story, and I thoroughly enjoy and appreciate this story even more today. So, let's begin the review on The Mind of Evil. Written by Don Houghton, the same writer who wrote Inferno. Professor Keller has created a machine that can pacify even the most dangerous of criminals. But when the Doctor and Joe arrive at Stagmore Prison for a demonstration, things start to go horribly wrong, especially when they discover that the Doctor's old enemy, the Master, is responsible for the machine. What could he possibly want from the criminals, and what connects him with an impending World Peace Conference? So you can see all of these certain different events within the story add up to the official plot of the story, and it's a really intriguing plot line. It's certainly well developed. This story definitely has some political aspects, I have to say, because this one is mainly about world peace, and you have all of these other delegates from all around the world. You've got the Chinese delegate, the American delegate, and they all think to basically have a world peace conference. Also, you have units in this story which are actually quite busy. They have their handfuls, you know, occupied within the story. They're escorting a missile called the Thunderbolt, which is basically a British nuclear missile full of nerve gas, and it's basically being escorted during a World Peace Conference. Like, that's unit for you. Trying to escort a missile during a World Peace Conference, like, that would probably arouse loads of political aspects within the story. And it's such a political story, but you can certainly see that the Master destines to steal the Thunderbolt, the missile, and plans to use it to destroy the World Peace Conference, and therefore with the Peace Conference and the world leaders out of action destroyed, he can now perfectly take over the entire world. But this plot is really complex, and you have to be in the mood to watch it, and you have to be fully concentrating and very focused in watching with this story to fully understand the complexity of the entire plot. So I think the plot line is really well developed once the Doctor's investigated stuff at Stanmore Prison with the Keller machine. Then the Brigadier is discussing plans with the World Peace Conference, and then Captain Yates is escorting the Thunderbolt, the missile, back to a safe place. And so there's quite a lot within the story, and especially the characters in this. I think the characters, mainly within their performances, are so superb. Especially with Jon Pertwee's superb performance in this story. He's absolutely phenomenal. I love him when he becomes so authoritative and really determined, because he knows that what dangers can occur within the entire story. He's quite aware of what can happen with like the Keller machine affecting people's minds and causing them to go mentally insane. I mean, with the Keller machine, it's absolutely an ingenious concept introduced by the brilliant Don Houghton. He's absolutely a fantastic writer, and what made him introduce the Keller machine, I have no idea. But the Keller machine is a machine. It's a parasite that feeds on the negative impulses of the mind and the brain, and the Keller machine can extract those negative impulses and leave a patient completely blanked mind with no negative impulses whatsoever, such as Barnard. Barnard was the first person to get experimented on with the Keller machine, and it was actually used for a demonstration to see how this process worked, and the doctor wasn't fascinated by it at all. And the doctor felt that, do you really think that the man's reaction was supposed to do that? And so the doctor gets quite a bit suspicious about this process. Is it quite safe? Is it effective? And so the doctor's very, very mysterious within the story. But again, he's very, very dark as well. Especially when he gets attacked by the Keller machine, he really gets so afraid. Even all of his memories of like, this is one scene that I actually noticed in the story, and it's actually a reference to Don Houghton's first story, Inferno, and it's where in the first cliffhanger where he gets attacked by the Keller machine while a riot's going on outside. The Keller machine gets active and it becomes really, really dangerous when the doctor's in the room, and the doctor gets attacked by the Keller machine, and it brings some memories of the Inferno, the parallel universe, burning in a ball of flames, and that memory was picked out by the Keller machine and was used as an advantage for the Keller machine to use against the doctor and try to destroy the doctor's mind. So the parasite picked out that memory from the doctor's mind and used it to destroy him. And that is the most ingenious and most fascinating way of how to kill people within the story. The Keller machine is really, really fantastic, and I think the Keller machine is the star of the show because there's basically nobody to control it. It has a mind of its own. Nobody can control it. Even the Master can't control it. Even though he created it, he still can't control it, because in episode 4, when he was trying to resist the Keller machine, he couldn't really take control of it. But as he was trying to resist it, he saw the parasite picked a vision in his mind, and he saw a humongous figure of the doctor actually laughing at the Master in his face. Like, basically the Master had like there's some kind of fear that the mind parasite picked out and showed it to the Master. Like, the doctor was actually laughing at the Master in his face, and the Master was actually, on his expression, his reaction, he was really intimidated by the doctor's presence. And that really made me think that the Master is actually really scared and afraid of the doctor. And I think the Master in this, I don't think I've mentioned the Master in this, he is absolutely a badass in this story. He is so powerful, so manipulative. And especially within episode 2, when he's sitting in the limousine with his black clothing on, with a cigar in his mouth, putting on his hypnotic trance, his manipulative ways, he's such a badass in that scene. He's absolutely amazing. Sensational acting from the legendary Roger Delgado. I mean, you can't be moaning about Roger Delgado's acting. It's absolutely brilliant, his acting. I also think that Chin Lee, the attractive Chinese girl, to be honest, and even so, I think there was one scene in Mike Yates actually said to the Brigadier, like, more trouble, like, pretty, she's quite a dolly. Yeah, I know, quite saucy comment from Captain Yates. I know, I love Captain Yates in this because I think that he's mainly taking charge of escorting the missile, and not only like Benton, like he gets under control of the Kelly machine in episode 2. Mike Yates really has everything organised for escorting the missile, and he feels like he's more in control, and he feels like that is he the same in level of authority as the Brigadier. But all we know is that the Brigadier is completely in control, and he controls the security arrangements of the World Peace Conference, and he has so much in his hands, and so he really has like so many telephones at his desk. He has many ongoing stuff to take care of, other jobs that need to be done, especially with the missile. But I think Captain Yates, with escorting the missile, although the people who try to hijack the missile and try to retrieve it, Mike Yates still go after them, because he feels more of a person who has that heroic figure. He goes after them and see what he can find and some information on where they're taking the missile. And so he's quite brilliant, and he's quite ingenious and in his thinking. And so he's really such a brilliant character in this. Mike Yates is certainly brilliant. And I kind of felt sorry for Sergeant Benton, although he lost a Chinese girl in broad daylight, strange enough. But it was not Sergeant Benton's fault. It was actually the Kelly machine projected through Chin Li's mind, and actually, no matter if Benton stared at Chin Li can actually project the negative impulses towards Sergeant Benton, and he can be under the effect of the Kelly machine and go completely, you know, faint on the floor and go a bit mental. So I kind of felt sorry that it wasn't Benton's fault that he lost Chin Li, and he made it up by coming along with the Brigadier to Stangmore Prison to save the Doctor and Joe and see if he can find the missile. But unfortunately, he didn't find the missile was there. The Brigadier definitely thought, you know, at first that the missile should be at Stangmore Prison, but no, it's actually somewhere hidden away in another location. Well, actually, my Captain Yates, funny enough, actually told the Brigadier where it is, and that gives the Doctor and, you know, Joe some breathing space, because the Master could set off the missile at any moment in time, and he could just literally do it any time he wants, because he's probably waiting for the Doctor to basically talk to him in the face and then suddenly fire off the missile in his face and just see the destruction at his own demise. Like, he feels so sinister, such of a badass. And again, he's so sinister, manipulative, such a sinister character. And that's why I love the Master in this. And that's why I love the Master in general. Roger Delgado is my favourite Master of all time, and that would never change, because he plays the Master so well. Such a suave and cool and sinister character. Very manipulative, and yet again quite polite towards all of his criminal associates. All he cares about is his only plans to completely conquer the world by capturing the missile and using it to blow up the World Peace Conference, and therefore it will probably lead to a mass-scale war between all the different countries, and therefore the Master can easily take over the world and become supreme ruler. So that's his ultimate plan, but you really have to be concentrating in the entire story to fully understand the complexity within the entire plotline. You have to be really focused to fully appreciate and understand the plotline within the story. I also thought that Joe was really quite interesting in the story as well, although in my opinion, she didn't really have much to do. She merely felt more of a person. I mean, she was very heavy in her companion essence within episodes 1 and 2, but I felt more within like episodes 4 and 5. She basically felt more of a carer towards Barnard and also to Dr. Simmons as well, and she felt more of a person just basically stuck in prison and didn't know what to do. So I think she felt quite let down, quite useless, but for most of the episodes. But nevertheless, she's absolutely brilliant, and also she saves the Doctor's life more than once, to be honest, and so that takes some courage from Jo Grant, and she's really brilliant in this. Although I really wanted her more of a companion essence, but I didn't really see that of her in this story. All I saw was more of her caring and loving companion essence, but mainly with her asking the questions. I really wanted her to ask more and be one of those companions to help out the Doctor and really aid him within all of the, you know, all the events happening in the World Peace Conference, and tries to help the Doctor trying to resist the Kelly machine. And so she tries her absolute best, and I think episode 6, that's where she really has a bit of both, and that's what I really like. I think when you have the companion essence of Jo Grant. You have to have that companion essence of asking the questions and helping out the Doctor, but also caring for the Doctor as well. And so I like a bit of both, and in episode 6 I really saw a bit of both personalities with Jo Grant, and I think that's the key element with her companion essence, which I admire. So Jo Grant was really good, and although she was merely a carer for all of the patients who were under the process of the Keller machine, but she was really, really good in this. Really fantastic. I just love the little reference to Inferno in the story. It's where the Doctor in episode 1, the cliffhanger, just basically he gets under the pressure of the Keller machine, pictures the mind of Inferno where the planet is dying in a ball of flames, and he gets infected by the Keller machine, bringing that memory, and he basically dies of fire in a perfectly dry, non-flammable room. And this is the ingenious way that I love, the way that the Keller machine kills people really, really ingeniously. And I think the concept is really fantastically introduced. I cannot thank Don Hutek enough for creating the Keller machine. It's absolutely amazing. For example, the way it kills, for one person, Professor Kettering, who was a person who was actually just describing and explaining the process on how to deal with criminals with the Keller machine, and he actually drowned in a perfectly dry room as he had a certain phobia of water, and he had all of the symptoms corrected by Dr. Summers, all of the symptoms connected to by death by drowning. And then the governor was like, well, that's ridiculous. There is no water in the entire, like, how is that possible? In a perfectly dry room, he died of drowning. You may think, that makes no sense though. But no, we believe what our minds tell us. That is the key point that I love, that we believe what our minds tell us. And he died from completely a fear of water and died in a perfectly dry room. Like that certain fear was picked out by the mind parasites and basically used against Professor Kettering, and he died of drowning in a perfectly dry room. Such an ingenious way of dying from shock in the mind. Such a brilliant way of killing people. And within episodes 4, 5 and 6, the Keller machine goes mental, absolutely mental. No matter if there's a riot going on outside, the Keller machine goes mental. It disappears and reappears whenever some people arrive at the prison. They absolutely get demolished by the Keller machine. And I wouldn't advise shooting at the Keller machine, because one of these key scenes that I absolutely love, one person actually shot at the Keller machine, and a black, white and yellow kind of graphic effect happened with the killing process of the Keller machine. It had like basically a yellow, white and black background as the person was being killed off by the Keller machine. I thought that was a really ingenious effect to use. I thought it was quite different and quite unusual to use. But yet again, brilliant. I think the Doctor is absolutely brilliant in this. His authoritative figure in the story really helps out with all the political people within the entire story, and especially one offensive comment that the Professor Kettering made towards the Doctor. And if you were a scientist, you would understand. And then the Doctor goes absolutely mental over this comment. If I was a scientist, let me tell you, sir, that I am a scientist, and I have been for 1,000. And he gets overreacted very, very easily by people who don't trust him or don't understand him. So that's what the Doctor just doesn't like of people. Basically, he hates people with so much incompetence, and they just don't understand the dangers of what happens with the Keller machine. The Keller machine is an absolute brutal threat to the entire story. And in episode 6, we actually see what the mind parasite creature looks like. It's almost like a Dalek mutant, but a bit black and, you know, green colour. It looks a bit disgusting and much deadlier than a Dalek mutant, but really it looks absolutely disgusting. But again, the parasite, the Keller machine is absolutely amazing. I really, really love the Keller machine. I think it's the main, absolute biggest threat within the entire story. And my only negatives with this story is that I saw some scenes that were very poorly done, and especially one scene of where Captain Yates and Sergeant Benson were talking to each other, and then they were basically talking in front of a backdrop, and it looked like a very faked backdrop. It didn't look too real enough, and it felt that it was a very poor effort done there. And also the cliffhangers in this. Although I love the cliffhangers in this, I think they were fantastic, but I think the cliffhangers in the story became so repetitive. With episodes 1 cliffhanger, with episode 3 cliffhanger, episode 4, it became a bit repetitive in my opinion. But my favourite cliffhanger of all is episode 3 cliffhanger, and that is where the Doctor gets tied up and he gets tortured by the Keller machine, and all of the memories of the villains that the Doctor has faced in the past, like the Daleks, the Cybermen. You even hear the Dalek voices in the background. Destroy, annihilate, exterminate. You see all of the memories from the Doctor's past foes, and he gets attacked by all of those fears of the Daleks, the Cybermen, and all of the rest of the monsters. He gets attacked by the Keller machine by using all of those fears to kill the Doctor. And honestly, his heart completely stopped. One of his hearts completely stopped after the torture in episode 4. One of his hearts completely stopped, and like this just shows how powerful the Keller process and the Keller machine really is. It's so dangerous, so deadly, and so powerful. I love the Keller machine. I think it's one of the most ingenious things I love about the story, and I think it deserves better appreciation. And definitely I think that this story has some brilliant moments in this. Especially when the Doctor is, you know, being attacked in the Keller room, and he's trying to resist the Keller machine, and he's trying to figure out some way of how to distract it somehow by putting a coil of wire over it. Basically like an electromagnetic field around the Keller machine, prevents it from going a bit mental. But in episode 6, I think it goes a bit mental. It goes like, you know, the camera lens, or basically the filming of when the Keller machine's trying to break free from the coil of wire. Basically, the camera moves from side to side like that, and it becomes like it just shows maybe just how maybe the machine is throwing all the objects around, and he's trying to break free. All of the energy that the Keller machine is storing is basically being released and destroying the coil of wire, and it's breaking free, and you know, and it's disappearing and reappearing and killing people in so deadly and sinister ways. It's absolutely a real dark story, and I really like the Keller machine. And I think all of the characters, especially the Master, is absolutely fantastic. Such a badass character, and I just love it when he laughs in the face of the Doctor at the end, when enjoy your exile. He becomes so powerful, very sinister, and very manipulative. How can you not love Roger Delgado's Master? He's absolutely phenomenal. I have to say that this story definitely brings my appreciation back to the story, because at first I didn't really have much love for the story, but now I fully appreciate this story. After a 2-year absence from not watching the story, my gosh, how did I forget all those brilliant scenes in the story? So brilliant acting. I think the performances and the dialogue within the entire story are absolutely done solely to perfection. I'm not saying this is one of my personal favourites, but it's one that I thoroughly enjoy overall. And my overall rating is a 9.4 out of 10. It's certainly really fantastic, and I really have more appreciation for this story. It's certainly one of the most darkest stories in Jon Pertwee's era, but also very underrated in my opinion. And many people really need to appreciate this story a bit more often, because it's certainly fantastic. Although it's with a bit little padding in episode 5, repetitive cliffhangers and a few errors and here and there, but overall the story is absolutely enjoying. The plot development is brilliant. You have to be on your game and really thoroughly watch it all in one go to fully understand the complexity of the entire story. You have to be really into the story to fully understand what's happening. The characters in this are absolutely amazing, and I think some of the time when most of the criminals, I think they're basically just bodyguards really. I mean, Mailer, he's kind of an unusual character. I didn't feel he had much to do. Basically, if he basically grasped up the Master would grasp up him, and so they basically had each other's back, and they would really coexist throughout episode 3, 4 and 5 until Mailer gets killed by the Brigadier in episode 5. I think Mailer is quite a good specimen to use as, you know, criminal to use to hijack the missile while the Master's off busy trying to sort out the Keller machine. And so he feels more of a very intimidating threat at first, but he has so much dishonesty with the Master, and they don't really get along quite as well. Like, they don't really want the same things. And Mailer, he just really wants to help the Master, but also he wants the Master to help him. So it's like an eye for an eye, really. And so they don't really honestly trust each other. So you can see that the Master is very persuasive, and he can really turn his plans in a very different direction. His plans suddenly change where Chinli actually talks to the Brigadier and the Doctor about the mysterious plans, and of how the Doctor identifies that the Emil Keller, aka the Master, created a machine, and he had a Chinese girl as an assistant, and they went to Stangmore Prison and completely built the entire machine for Stangmore Prison. And she was trying to remember all of these other things that happened in her mind, but also she was under the control of the Master. So you can see how suspicious she was, and her character is absolutely brilliant. Although she blames the Brigadier of some stolen information from the Chinese delegate's office, but anyway, she had them in her hand and burnt them in the park. Such a key scene, and I think she's very suspicious in the story, and I think definitely keep an eye out for her, because her character can completely change very, very quickly. And I think in episode 2, in the cliffhanger in episode 2, where she basically turns off the lights and she becomes a Komodo dragon and starts to murder the American delegate. And Mr. Fu Peng, I really like him, and I think it's just a conversation between the Doctor and Mr. Fu Peng, and it's really the first time that we see English subtitles used in a Doctor Who story for the first time, of where the Doctor's speaking Chinese to Mr. Fu Peng, and Mr. Fu Peng's like, it is always a different opportunity to know somebody who knows my language. And so it's quite a very interesting scene of seeing them speak Chinese to each other, and it was quite a very loving conversation that they had to each other, speaking in Chinese, very getting along quite well together, and they felt more of a, you know, a loving and very making peace towards Mr. Fu Peng. So you can see the kind of honesty, respect that the Doctor has for all of the people within the World Peace Conference. And I think the entire plot really connects so well with the World Peace Conference, all of the nations gathering together in peace, and they really feel like they want to get along with each other quite well. But when you have a missile involved in the story, you know that maybe the Master could use that missile for something evil, and he uses it to destroy the entire World Peace Conference with the world leaders out of the way with, and then the Master can actually use the missile to blow up the World Peace Conference, and that would lead to a massive scale war. And that's perfectly the Master's plan in the entire story. And I thoroughly enjoyed the entire story. A 9.4 rating, the characters are amazing, and I think Jon Pertwee and the Master are absolutely brilliant, especially within their talks in episode 3. As like, if you hurt Joe Grant's hair or something like that, and like, the Master's like, "You do nothing, or I'll put a bullet both through your hearts." So the Master and the Doctor are very threatening towards each other, and their relationship really strengthens up. And I think this story really shows of how sinister and how manipulative the Master really is. He's very sinister, such of a badass with the cigar in his mouth, the black clothing. Honestly, really, really powerful. And I thought all the unit personnel were also pretty good. I liked the Brigadier in this, although he was trying to get to the conversation of trying to speak to Mr. Fu Peng, but instead he basically got ignored, and basically was like, "Oh, come on, Doctor, I really want to ask these questions." And then the Doctor had some witty dialogue within episode 2, where when Ching Li actually was a bit worried about the Chinese delegate being dead, but then why did she wait like half an hour for the to call the Brigadier? I think she said, "I called you immediately," but why did she wait half an hour until she made the call? And so that's what the Brigadier picked up on, and he was quite intelligent and quite witty within his dialogue. And so that definitely, I saw a definitely bright side with the Brigadier in the story. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and as well, he's absolutely authoritative in the story, especially when he's speaking to Captain Yates, and even so to Sergeant Benson. "Out my side, Sergeant Benson! Sir! So you can see that how the Brigadier certainly has some brilliant authoritative status over all of the unit personnel, but I definitely love his character, and I think when the Doctor and the Brigadier get along quite well, they work so brilliantly as a team. And basically when Mike's trying to, and Benton's trying to talk to the Brigadier, the Doctor's like, yes, it's going to be one of those days. It's like, Doctor, come in, Brigadier. It's absolutely so fun. But anyway, The Mind of Evil is such a fantastic story, and it's certainly an underrated gem, and really one of the most darkest stories within John Pertwee's Earthbound stories. Really, really dark, and I think the Killer Machine is at the centre threat of the entire story. And I thought the ending was quite a bit of a rush, although the Doctor gave back the Masters the dematerialization circuit for his TARDIS, and also basically Barnard, who was actually, I forgot to mention him, he was actually one key character for episode 6. Because he was the first person who got infected with the Killer Machine, and ever so where he went near to the machine stopped working. It was not activated at all. And ever when he went away, the machine started to plan up again and became active again. Whenever when he went near it, the machine stopped. And it felt more of that Barnard doesn't have any negative impulses because the machine has extracted all of those negative impulses. So at least Barnard is there with the Doctor and Joe. They're perfectly safe. The machine can't harm them at all, because basically Barnard is almost like a protective shield. Which it was such an intense scene of when actually Barnard actually came into the room and went near to the machine. The machine actually stopped. It was quite strange, but really interesting as well. So Barnard is actually a really key character within the story, and I really like of how he gets featured now and again, because it really points to people like, what's that character doing in the story? He's worthless. But no, he's actually a key character. He is under like the temptation that he has the mind of a child, and he really becomes more of a person who doesn't understand things properly, and he feels more of a kind and generous person. But he doesn't really have no sense of right, and has no sense of right and wrong, and he really feels like a very newborn child. He has a mind of a child, but he really feels like a very kind and very loving character that you can really like get along with so easily. Barnard actually gets killed off in the end by the Master running him over, and unfortunately Jo Grant actually gets quite upset about that. And so yeah, I think Barnard definitely, for the time, he was really, really good, and I think episode 6 was mainly his highlight of the story. Really fantastic. And I think Sergeant Benton, although losing a Chinese girl in broad daylight, he really helped out with all the situation and helping out with all of the unit soldiers breaking into Statmore prison and helping to find the Doctor, and he really became a Governor acting Sergeant Benton kind of person. So that, at least he had some authoritative rank within episode 6, which I quite liked. But anyway guys, I think that really concludes The Mind of Evil. One thing I have to say about this story: underrated, dark, brilliant, mind controlling, mind games, amazing. I have to say that the Killer Machine is absolutely at the centre in this. The Doctor is absolutely amazing with his authoritative, and he's quite aware of the entire situation and the dangers lurking with the machine. The Master, certainly a badass in the story. Jo Grant, more of a carer, companion, more of that the person who's asking questions. But I think the entire plot line of the entire story is really strong, and really you have to be on your game. It's quite complex to completely fully understand the story, and I think the action scenes by Havoc are really, really good in episode 5, and that's what makes the entire story really ongoing within episode 5. Although episode 5, in my opinion, may have some dragging effect maybe, or maybe a bit of padding, but although I love episode 5 for the action scenes, and I think they're the key things I love about episode 5, which makes it enjoying to watch. And I have to be honest, I have thoroughly enjoyed The Mind of Evil because I forgot how good this story was. And after a 2-year wait of not watching The Mind of Evil, my gosh, how have I missed this entire story? It's absolutely amazing, and I really, really enjoyed the entire story. A great rating, 9. Actually, you know what? Since I'm actually talking great stuff about it, I'm actually going to change my rating to 9.5, to be honest, because I have to say, from not watching the story for 2 years, watching it again and really throwing it, enjoying it, I certainly have done that. It's certainly really fantastic, and it's definitely a story that many people would say is a controversial story, underrated, dark, delusional, and it's quite a mind game story, and it's really fascinating, and especially the Killing Machine is at the centre in this, in my opinion. Brilliant. And so guys, that completes my review on The Mind of Evil. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please do give a like, but also comment your views on this story, and please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Such a brilliant story, and my gosh, how much have I forgot this story. I forgot how good it was, and now it's absolutely up there, not as one of my personal favourites, but certainly as one story that I thoroughly really enjoyed. Really happy with it. 9.5 out of 10. Brilliant story. Anyway guys, thank you for watching, and the next review, which will be The Claws of Axos, so stay tuned for that, which will hopefully be sometime maybe next week, I hope. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys for that review soon. Thanks for watching.